Today we're gonna make one of my favorite combinations, chicken and eggplant parm together. So we're gonna do a nice cutlet, then we're gonna put some pieces of eggplant on, the cheese, everything. Here's all those ingredients. Let's get to prepping them right now. All right, guys, so we have all the ingredients. I like to show you everything before we get started here. The eggplant is the first thing you want to do. You want to put salt on it. This is going to pull the water out of it. It's not really going to take the bitterness you might read online, but it is going to take water out. And the larger the eggplant, the more water they have. So when you take it out of there, and I can already see there's a lot in the dish down here, it will give you a better fry. I always remember my grandma doing this. She would do it overnight, and she would have the whole table filled with the eggplant because she would make a ton of eggplant parm. We'll go over all the other ingredients. I have 2 cans of crushed tomatoes. I have garlic for the sauce and a little bit of olive oil, and that's gonna essentially be the sauce ingredients. We have breadcrumbs, flour, egg. We're gonna use both of these to do the frying. The eggplant's not gonna have breadcrumbs. It will just have the egg, but since we're gonna do them right in a row, you can kind of like use the eggs from the previous one that you have left over. You'll see in a second when we fry everything up. Parsley's gonna go in that mixture for the breadcrumbs. Pecorino Romano's gonna go in the mixture for both of them as well that we fry with. And then Parmigiano Reggiano, because we're making eggplant and chicken parm, you know, you gotta have that, so we're gonna do it here. Now that being said, if you wanna just do pecorino the whole way, definitely go for it. Mozzarella, I grated the whole block, but we're not gonna need it. You probably need about, I would say 2.5 cups would be enough for this, maybe 3. And then I have the chicken here, which is just sitting in the back here because I don't want to contaminate anything. We butterflied them. So you open them up like a book and pounded them out. It's only 3 breasts, but it's about 2 pounds there. So it's very large. This would make it very impressive. If you don't want to do that and you want to just go straight through, do that. Just make sure you pound them flat no matter what you do. You'll get a better fry, you'll get an equal fry, and you won't have like a thick piece and a thin piece, which will lead you to have like 1 part overcooked and 1 part undercooked. All right, let's make the sauce right now. I'm gonna heat that up to about medium heat, and I'm gonna put in a couple tablespoons of olive oil. I'm not gonna use too much here because we're frying cutlets and the eggplant are gonna be fried in oil, so we don't want the sauce to be overly oily. Normally, I would just tell you to coat the bottom. You need enough oil to distribute the garlic flavor, which is what we want in the sauce, and those are 5 large cloves of garlic. That gives me all this. All right, so we're gonna just cook this for a few minutes until it gets golden. And it's been about 2 minutes. The garlic's getting a little golden, not too much yet. When it's getting right towards that point, if you want hot red pepper in it, and I do want some of that, I'm gonna put it in now, let it cook in the oil for a couple seconds. All right, I'm putting about a 1/4 teaspoon, not too much, just a touch here. Now you can see the garlic is getting really nice. Right when it's like right there, not brown, okay, not burning definitely, then you pour the tomatoes in and you lock in the color there. Now with what I'm making here, we could probably get away with only 1 can of tomatoes, but I always like to have extra sauce. Maybe you got a loaf of bread with this, you can make heroes then after you know, with leftovers. I know I'm not gonna have leftovers with my family, especially with the taste tester. He's gonna love this one when he tries it. I know that already. Can't predict that it's gonna be a 10, but I'm pretty confident it'll be close. Oh, that garlic just smells so good with the tomatoes when it hits. All right, so what I wanna do now is just let this simmer bring it to a simmer. Cook it at the simmer for just about 10-15 minutes to get some of the liquid, some of the moisture out of here. And then you can just put it on an extremely low burner, or you can just cover it and leave it off to the side. We're gonna need this sauce for our when we assemble, but we're not gonna be assembling for roughly 45 minutes. We gotta fry both of them. The other thing I'm gonna do is after I turn it off, I'll just hit this up with a little bit of basil. I'm also gonna have more basil later for the assembly process. This has been probably about an hour and 20 minutes this is gone. If you do this overnight, you're gonna remove more water, but let me show you how much water we do have right now. You can see it all dripping here. That's a lot of water. That's why you put the plate under there. If you're gonna do it in the colander, you could also put it in a clean sink, just let it go. Take your tomatoes, put them back in your closet, and then we have our eggplant. Oh, by the way, guys, I left the skin on. I left almost all the skin on. Just in the ends, I just trimmed a little bit off. I love the skin. I like the texture of it, the different texture elements. If you don't like it, just remove it. Just peel this. That's all you have to do before you slice it. So you can see these pieces now are like, you know, ton of water on them. The salt draws the water out. We did use a good amount of salt, so I have like paper towel that's just a clean paper towel that's just a tiny bit damp, and I'm going to just kind of just remove, just by wiping it, I'll take off some of the salt, some of that really heavy salt. So continue with this process, try to remove the salt, maybe do a little bit better job than I'm doing. We're not going to put any salt in the egg wash that we're going to do, except for the pecorino, which has salt in it. We're gonna put this off to the side because we wanna do the chicken first, and we don't wanna have to wait then to do this process. All right, we're gonna bread the chicken now. I have salt and pepper on one side and do the other side. Okay, I like to do the salt and pepper on the chicken instead of in the breadcrumb mixture, though you can do that because then you're kind of guaranteed to have the right amount of salt and pepper on it. And we've done chicken cutlets so many times, we've probably done like 10 videos where I've made cutlets for you. I've always shown you like the ways that tricks that I use to make them really efficiently. I'll use multiple forks. I use one for each part, but this chicken's so big, we're just gonna use our hands today. Before we put that salt and pepper on the chicken, make sure that it's kind of dry. I'm gonna take the piece and we're gonna get it in the flour. This flour we're just going to use again for our eggplant, so don't worry if you think you have too much. You're going to have a little bit of extra, but that's just the nature of doing this. Doing the flour helps to ensure that the breadcrumbs are not going to fall off. You can get away with just going straight to egg, but I do prefer it with the flour. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm just knocking as much off as I can. All right, so we're gonna put it right in the egg. Do your best to not make a huge mess here. How many people have gone their whole life, never did this before, and they think it's hard? There's nothing hard about this. You just gotta set up your station, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the fifth one is the parchment paper. So if you're doing a ton of cutlets and often you're doing 4, 5, 6 pounds of cutlets, you wanna do it that way. Just flip it over. Unless you have a lot of egg. By the way, I have 8 eggs in here. And I just realized I almost screwed up. Got to put the cheese and the parsley in there. So it's good that I realized it right when I got to the breadcrumb part. So I'm gonna put in half of the parsley, about a 1/4 cup. We'll save the other bit for when we do the eggplant. And then I'm gonna put in a 1/4 cup of the pecorino romano, and we're gonna save the other bit for when we do the eggplant. These are seasoned breadcrumbs, so they have a little bit of salt and pepper, a little bit of seasoning in there. Probably they put a little bit of oregano, but it's always nice to add your parsley, or make your own breadcrumbs if you want, which, we've done that plenty of times on this channel, but it's just, we're doing a lot today. So let's try to make it a little bit easier for ourselves by using those store-bought breadcrumbs. All right, so we're gonna go back in here, let it drip completely. Okay, and then go right into the breadcrumbs. You're gonna get a little messy here. This is just a massive cutlet. When you're doing the little ones, you can avoid a mess. And we use 2 cups of breadcrumbs here. If you run out, just pour a little bit more in there with it. There's our tremendous cutlet right here, the size of that cutlet. And I'm gonna lay it down on the parchment paper, lined baking sheet. It's gonna let it not stick. All right, so here's the cutlets, they're all done. Ready to go. I just turned this on. It's gonna take about 5-7 minutes for it to heat up enough. I wanna get my oil to roughly 350 degrees to 375 degrees. Around there, you'll be fine. We're still waiting for that oil. It's a lot of oil here. Let it get to temperature. After we fry these cutlets, we're going to then go right into the eggplant. But we're not gonna dip the eggplant in until we're putting them in. But we're gonna put the rest of our parsley in the eggs. And then we're gonna add in the other 1/4 cup of the pecorino. In my opinion, this is the best way to do the eggplant. You're just doing the flour, then the egg wash with the cheese. Oh. Now you have really delicious, anything you fry in here, it's great. This is actually the same, very similar to the batter that you'd use for mozzarella carozza, which is the grilled cheese. Anyway, I just wanted to get it set up, and we'll let this sit on the side for after we're done with the chicken. It's been a few more minutes. Let's check the oil. Now, when I put this wooden spoon in, we're looking for little tiny bubbles. Little tiny bubbles that are kind of crawling up the edges there. I hope you can see them. They're coming right up the edge. When you're putting in a massive cutlet like this, make sure that you're putting it away from you. Even if you're doing a little cutlet, make sure you're putting it away from you. Okay? So like this, and then down, down, and let it go. Trying to make enough room for the other one. I hope I have enough room. Okay, just gonna let it go in gently. And I just have enough room. I hope I have enough. I'm kind of forcing that in there. This is a 14-inch pan, but might be a better way to arrange this so they both fit. So they're very thin. They're gonna take roughly 3 minutes, 4 minutes per side. That's all you need. You're just looking for golden on each side. And we have enough oil in here that they're essentially submerged, but we still will flip them at the halfway point. It's nothing like a good cutlet, but there's something even better, making the cutlet and putting the eggplant on top. All right, so it's been about 3.5 minutes, I'd say, maybe 4 minutes. Let's look, see how we're doing. I got my tongs now, which are safer, and we'll go over. Okay. All right, so it's been about 3 minutes on that side. I think they're good. Let's take a look. Okay, and then just again away from you. We'll let that fry, and then we're gonna do eggplant in the flour and then in the egg wash. And if you have more water on them, like I do, pat them dry again before you put them in the flour. Even though the flour will absorb a lot of it, it won't do it all. Okay, shake it off, and then just like that. The cutlets are done. They're right here. I still have my oil on, and I'm just gonna skim some of the gunk out. I have a slotted spoon, and I'm just gonna go in there and just take as much of it as I can out. This is gonna help just get a little bit of a cleaner fry, so not such a dirty fry, but just these big spots I wanna take out like that. Here's our eggplant that I just floured really quickly. Eggs with all the cheese right here. Just be careful. I have the handle off. I don't want it over here by me right now, but again, ideally you're using a stove for this. Get them in the egg, and then it's gonna be a little messy here, or use a fork if you can. And then right into the oil. See, it's gonna look just like this. Just strip it all, the excess, then right in. Maybe it'll be 3 minutes per side. Eggplant's either cooked or it's not. So if you don't cook it all the way, it'll be tough, won't taste good. All right, just be careful flipping them. And in the event that you don't think they're cooked enough, you take it out. If that's the case, you can just throw it back in. You can just double fry that. Okay, we'll pull these out. All right, while those are going, I'm just gonna try a piece here. We got plenty. I got more than enough for the chicken. So just wanna make sure that it's cooked. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the one that's the thickest piece. Make sure you pat these eggplants a little dry on the top as well. Perfect. Nothing beats frying it. All right, so we did a lot of frying today. Eggplant, more eggplant, and all the chicken. So we have our chicken here. I have all the eggplant over to the side that you can't see because there's so much stuff here. We have the sauce, which is delicious. I was just tasting it. What I did was I let it sit over on the side, just covered. I put a couple basil leaves in it. I can probably fish them out now if I want, because they were like whole. Yeah, like this whole leaf right here. I'll just take it out. It flavored the sauce a ton, which is what I wanted it to do. And now we're gonna just set up our layers. And since we have a lot more eggplant than the chicken, this is gonna be really nice. We're not gonna need all that mozzarella. We will need all the half a cup of Parmigiano. And we have more over there if we need even more. Basil leaves that are wilted now because I made the mistake of opening up the container. You know, I might be posting this video to you in June or July, even though this is being filmed well before that. When you can grow your own, make sure you do, because you will have the best basil that when you pick it and you wet it, wash it, whatever, it won't turn into this in a matter of seconds. All right, so we have plenty of sauce. We're gonna add a little bit of sauce on top of each one. Okay, so we got the sauce on one layer. Gonna just save the mozzarella for the top. Right here, in this layer, we'll put some of the Parmesan. Just, you know, just divide it. So you got a half a cup here. Just go, say to yourself, oh, if I'm gonna have 2 more layers, I think I need to not use so much right now. I'm gonna take a basil leaf and just tear it up. If you want a ton of basil, you could just leave it whole, or you could just rip it up like I'm doing here. Now we have the beautiful eggplant pieces. So I'm gonna try to get like the really monster one. I'll put on this piece of chicken right here. I think I'll do 2 like that. You know, we could be done here, a little sauce, mozzarella, or we can build another layer. What do you think I should do? You think I should build another layer? Right? You think, right? I think I should. All right, I think maybe we'll just do like 1 more like that. Oh, I forgot the basil. My wife's looking at, like, she's looking at me like I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. That's certain. And then more of the sauce. We'll do the last bit right now with the mozzarella on top. You could put a little bit more of the cheese too. I'll hold off the basil on this level, and I'm just gonna stack it on. And I knew there was way more mozzarella than we needed, but I just grated the whole block. Let's save this for something else. So we're gonna bake this at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 7 minutes because everything's relatively warm right now. If you were using cold cutlets, you'd have to bake it a little bit longer to warm them up. But it only needs about 7 minutes, and then broil it for the last 2 to 3 minutes, but just watch the whole time. Your broiler might, you know, be really, really hot, and it might only need a minute. You just wanna get it golden on top. I think you're gonna love this one.
Oh, it looks good.
I'm putting a little bit more sauce for you. I wanted to get a really good picture with the cross section. You'll get to see it now because I'm gonna cut this one open. I was gonna do it for the pictures, but I figured let's do it for you guys.
That looks so good.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So that's the cross section there. What do you think, buddy?
Looks delicious.
And it's been out a little while, so the cheese is a little hard on there, but it'll still be great. Here, James. I'm stealing that piece.
Okay.
Let me give you another piece. All right, so James, what do you think about this? Do you think it's just better just to do straight chicken parm? Do you think it's better to do straight eggplant parm? What do you think about this idea? You think I went overboard, too much work?
No, I think it's delicious. Like, it's a really good idea because like eggplant parm and chicken parm are like some of the most popular things. And the sauce, like, it's just marinara sauce, but I love it. I think it gets a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10? Mm-hmm. Wow. He hasn't given me any 7s lately. That one, remember the pinwheel one that you really went after me on?
I was kind of like not in the mood to eat.
Right now.
Really, I just wasn't hungry then.
That's why we didn't let you eat the gorgonzola pasta either.
It wouldn't have gone a 10 out of 10, but I think it gets like, I don't know, like an 8.5.
The pinwheels?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't my favorite thing.
I love those pinwheels. And take a basil leaf and just tear it up, or you could just leave it whole. If you want a ton of basil. If you want a ton of basil.